Hey, y'all, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Disrupt Your Now with me, your host, Lisa Kipps-Brown, and my awesome buddy, Matt Mohawk Denny, or Mohawk Matt Denny. I'm so used to seeing how you wrote it on LinkedIn. Mohawk Matt Denny, my buddy.
Yeah.
So, Mohawk Matt was my very first guest like a year and a half ago. I was not even planning on doing a live show. I just did a live just for the heck of it to have him on to talk about doing live video. And I had so much fun that I ended up starting my weekly show. And so now, a little over a year later, when I was rebooting after my book launched, because I didn't have time when I was finishing it, I was like, Mohawk Matt's going to be my first guest again. And then he had to go and get sick. So his wonderful wife, Lindy, was my first guest after the reboot the other week. So finally, and not to put her down because she is an awesome guest, but finally we got you back, Mohawk Matt.
I'm happy to be back, and she is an awesome guest.
She is.
She's arguably probably better than me most days, but she's awesome. I'm super pumped to be here. I love our journey of you and I have become friends last year and a half, and I'm just excited to have a conversation.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I have to tell y'all a funny story. So we both are in Steve Sims' speakeasy. And the first time I ever saw Mohawk was last year during one of the virtual happy hours because it was during COVID. And, you know, everybody's chill. It's Friday evening. Everybody's having cocktails. And Mohawk is like laid out on the sofa with the camera up. And I'm like, damn, I know we're all like chill, but this guy's really taking it to the and then I didn't know you had back surgery. It was so funny.
I didn't have back surgery. I just broke my back.
Oh, broke your back. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, I was the first time we met, I was just chilling.
So I was like, man, he is really taking it literally. And then I didn't even know until later that you had broken your back. So I felt bad about that. But yeah, it's been so cool to get to know you over this time and then get to know Lindy and our journeys together and getting to see each other for the first time in person last year in Nashville, right?
Yeah, that's when we first met.
Okay, so I've already lost this.
Uh-oh.
Lindy says challenges me not to say his name. Okay, he who shall not be named, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Mohawk, for people who are not familiar with you, tell them a bit about yourself.
So the best way I can say that is two ways. I've gotten myself in trouble because I've thought of other people first my entire life. Even at one point, my wife had to put like a price limit on me. Like, you can't give away, you can't buy this many people things. Like, we still need to survive. And I need that. But for me, when it really all came together, for me, really understanding, and I kind of knew my path or an idea of where I wanted to go, like we all do. And then we're like completely wrong. And for me, some experiences I had in the Marine Corps, ended up in Wounded Warrior Battalion in San Diego. And after talking to a Marine, we realized everything that I went through that I was having a hard time with was because of my extrovertism. A word I made up. Because
what?
A word I made up. I'm pretty sure I made up extrovertism.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so because of that, because I was a journalist in the Marine Corps, because I was a photographer, because it was really my job to talk to people, and this Marine gave me his whole story of what had happened to him, and he hadn't shared it with anyone. And it was in that moment that I realized that everything I went through, it all clicked for me. It all like I still had things I worked through, but it all just kind of turned off, and it was like, oh, that's why you're here. You're here so that you can give a voice to the people that don't have one. And there's much more. There's more detail to that story, and I have a video about it online. But for me, that's when it all shifted, and that was 10, 11 years ago. Now, 10 years in the future, I've spent the last 2 years giving people a voice, having them on my versions of your show and different things. It's not even counting the stuff that we're about to do that we'll be talking about as well. So for me, to know me is just know a couple things. For me, it's about family, it's about the Marine Corps, and it's about helping other people. Those are the big three for me. And I'm excited for this part of my life to be able to be doing that work for fun, all of that, just kind of starting to tie it all together. Yeah, I'll leave it with that.
You're so much like me. I always blamed mine or whatever, and being a middle child, I've always put everybody first. Just want everybody else to be happy. And for years and years and years, I gave away so much work trying to help like the local community and this nonprofit and that nonprofit. And it's really hard to accept that you can't help people who don't really know they need to be helped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for years, it was really frustrating to me and also financially difficult. So, but it's funny how it's come back around full circle. And now I'm working with Colin, the NASCAR driver, and we're helping so many people. And it's in a way that is so much fun. And we'll get into that later, but I'm excited. You and I got to know each other through He Who Shall Not Be Named. It's cool, though, that we have the military in common, because for those of y'all who aren't familiar with me, my husband is retired military, 26 years in the Navy, 3 of which were in Vietnam. And I'm a baby. He robbed the cradle. So in case y'all are wondering. But anyway, we've been together for 35 years now. But so the military is very special to me. So it's really cool to me, Matt, how we have so much in common. And then that's just like the icing on the cake, you know?
It just it's the bond that just ties us even more. We already we're becoming friends because of our likeness and how we both think very similar.
Yeah.
And then once I met Tom, it was just like everything just come together, and now we're stuck forever.
I know, isn't there? and Lindy's so awesome. Yeah, we were so disappointed that we're not going to be able to be there this weekend to see y'all. So what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I want to talk about the name of your show. So Disruptive.
Okay. Yeah.
It's something that I never. So you're an entrepreneur. You have been for a long time. It's something that I never really identified with. It's something that a word that like, oh no, if you're an entrepreneur, that means you own a business. Like that's how I tied the two together until a couple of years ago. And I started seeing like, oh, wait a minute. It's also a frame of mind. And yes, there is a way of like, yes, entrepreneurs really, we've tied it to owning a business, but really it's more of you have 10 things going on at once at least.
Yeah. And a way of thinking.
Yeah, it's a way of thinking and how you're challenged and how you look at the world and trying different things. And once I started to realize, and that's the thing, I didn't know any entrepreneurs really. I knew people who owned businesses, but they kind of owned their job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Entrepreneurship type. And so once I started to meet you guys and some other folks I know across the world, everything started, wait a minute, like everything the way they think makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, try this, fails. Try this, fails. Try this, it works.
Yeah, and most business owners are not entrepreneurs. They own a business, they own a job, and they're tied to that. They don't know how to think differently. And even ones that are really, really successful, like Brandon Straza, he had built up a large business, but he did not look at himself as an entrepreneur. He was totally intimidated when he went to his first mastermind because he felt like he didn't belong there. And then he realized, oh, I do think like that. But he didn't realize that he did. I really think a lot of mine comes from the fact that my father was blind. So I grew up having to look at things differently and having to work around things without even thinking about it, just because of living with him. And so I never realized until I was, much older that I think differently than other people. But then for a long time, I thought it was just because I have ADD and I'm weird, but it's really been in the past 10 years that it started clicking with me. I was like, oh, wait a minute. The challenges, because he set a really high bar for himself and an even higher one for us. So it really did help me to learn to think differently.
And that's really good that you recognize that and see that as part of your story, your transition. And that's something that different for me, obviously, but I didn't fully understand until I started resonating. And they have that saying of like, you are the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of who you become. And I was never around bad, wrong people. It's
Yeah.
just not the same way that I think. And so I always stood extremely out. Like I go, my first mastermind actually going with the entrepreneur world. I always felt extreme imposter syndrome. I was like, wait a minute, this this dude's like almost a billionaire. This lady is like this, and then the more and more I went, I was like, wait a minute, I think the same way these people do.
Mm-hmm.
In this world, I don't actually stand out. I'm like them.
Yeah.
In my world, I'm a disruptor because I'm not like anybody else in my world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and that's what I love about your book, and that's why it identifies with me.
Mm-hmm.
Is I've always disrupting. Oh yeah, let's do it. Like my old team back in California, one of them called me the Juggernaut because like Matt that just goes through and kind of barrels through. And for like I always identify with it. Like, yeah, X-Men, that's cool. Go through.
Yeah.
But then my wife really gave me the best example ever a few months ago, and I think we've talked about this before. A lot of people go around the world kind of playing Risk, and they're playing the game of Risk. Okay, I got to make my strategy, and we're going to do this, but I'm not going to move it until I'm ready because once I move, then I can't stop moving because there's so much involved in that, and
Uh-huh.
it's so hard to shift positions. And like the game, where I go through the world, my wife does, you do, go more like Battleship,
Yeah.
where I'm playing Battleship. Just tell me, just point me in the right direction. I'll just start firing off, and if I miss, I'll readjust. If I hit, I'll adjust to keep hitting. And it's both are strategies, but they're very different in how you approach them. And
Yeah.
to me, that was a really like click moment for me. Like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And
Well, and
that's
it's like Ryan Garrett, for those of y'all that don't know, the dad of the NASCAR driver that I work with, he always says that he and I can like try and fail at 15 or 20 things before other people have even tried once. One thing, because all they do is talk about it and plan and do studies. We're just like, just try it. Because when you fail, you learn and you get up and you go try something different. And you're the same way, aren't you?
oh yeah, 100%. Like I think I've tried 3 or 7 different ideas today that I was like,
I
oh,
love
that's
it.
not gonna work. I think it's from the book Alice in Wonderland, where she says her dad told Alice that you try 7 new things a day. It was something like I'm slaughtering the quote.
I need
But
to go read it again. Well,
yeah,
and that's where the name of my book came from, Disrupt Your Now, because I'm so tired of people who always talk about someday or one day. They spend their whole life planning and dreaming of this someday or one day that never comes
yeah.
because, or maybe it does come, but by then you're so old you can't do it. But, but, you literally never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And so I just believe in going for what you want now. And it doesn't have to be huge things. It doesn't mean that you have to put your whole financial
Yeah.
self at risk, put your family at risk. It just means you can pick little things that you change in your daily life that can totally shift direction.
Well, I think it's actually easier to change your life by doing little things.
I agree.
When you do the big things, and you're like, ah, no, that like most people that do diets, like, oh, I'm going to stop everything right now. And it's like,
Yep,
but you can't sustain it. You haven't created a habit.
that's right.
For me, it's not a habit. It's just I don't know how to plan over
Yeah.
like think too much about something. Like I just kind of start thinking, and sometimes it hasn't worked out, and I've learned from it.
Hmm.
There's no failure. We've learned from it all, and that's what I've enjoyed doing the last few years with my government careers. Being able to, I was in a position where I was like, hey, and we talked about video before, and the last time we chatted, like, hey, we need a way to connect to people. And other people were saying, okay, let's do it the same way, this way, this way, this way. And those are the same ways that everyone else in the Department
Hmm.
of Defense and the Navy were doing. And I immediately was like, let's do them not like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pushback because you have that of people that aren't like that. And they're like, wait a minute. No, that's not how you do it. This is how we've always done it. And if anyone that's met me for 10 minutes, I don't do well with that's how you do it.
Exactly.
And I know you don't either. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of that, oh, you're gonna tell me no? Okay, cool. Here, hold my drink. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
see if that works.
I tell you, depending on the circumstance, telling me not to do something could either be the best thing or the worst thing ever. To tell me, if you do not want me to do it, don't tell me not to do it, because that's when I'm going to do it, or bust hell wide open. And that's how riding lawnmower ended up in the lake 20 years ago.
That's awesome.
So I'll have to tell y'all that story. But that was because my loving husband said, don't use the riding mower in the back hill. And I wouldn't have, because I like the push mower. But anyway, I get off topic. But
that's the worst thing to say to people like you and me.
Yes.
Is that's not going to work. Don't try that. Or I bet you can't do that. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, then we are just more determined than ever to prove people wrong, aren't we? Mm-hmm. And when my degree was in accounting, and I was really good at it, but I was like, I hate this. It was so boring, and I learned I hate repetitive tasks, and I love details if I can be in the details, but when I'm in it, I can't get back out. So, I have to either be up here or I have to be down in the real details. But I'm really a big picture person. Strategy is what I love. And so as long as I can stay up there, I'm good. But yeah, accounting was just so boring for me. And I've owned various businesses since 1990, but I started this one in 1996. So 25 years. And Matt, it's so funny because if you look at my LinkedIn profile, everything I did up until then, 2 to 2.5 years, whether it was a job or I owned a business, 2 to 2.5 years. And then I started this business. It's been 25. So it just goes to show you it's not the person. Because I used to think, what's wrong with me? Why do I get so bored? Why do I have to change things? And it's because I needed to be in something that could constantly change.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And I identify with that completely, where in everything I've done, and we've got a comment here from Chelsea that I know.
Yeah.
She says, oftentimes the provider of that advice, that's the way you do it, or insulted by the response. Hold my drink. Ooh, she got a question. Look at this. How do you navigate the upwards management?
Yeah, I love that.
That's a great question, Chelsea. So for me, I navigate it by showing. I'm a show, not a teller. I'll usually start things. I'm also the ask for forgiveness, not permission. Yeah. And there's sometimes where you work with management, they need to be aware a little bit. And so I always kind of try to find the people that will let me just, hey, I'm still doing things you want me to do, but can I try this in my 5% of extra time or whatever? And that for me has worked in the sense that I'm still meeting everything they need me to do. And I've been in those management situations where, yes, I have to do this your way, this way, etc. But hey, can I try this? It won't affect what I'm doing for the team and for you already. And that's how I've had success. And like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that could work. Oh, that actually saved us on this or that. And it's kind of that we talked to a few minutes ago, is starting those small steps.
Yeah.
You go in, especially in the change world, in the innovation space that I know you're in, Chelsea, is like you just make a huge change and like you're going to get a lot of people to say no. Your defenses go up. And that's how the body works. If you have something kind of a virus that just attacks you full on, your body's going to repel it. But if it kind of slowly sneaks in and slowly starts to happen, then it kind of is going to take over. I'm not saying you're a virus, but I think that it's that slow. It's trying different things versus just like, this is going to have a plan. Just start. And your plan doesn't have to be planned out. I never have a plan on paper, but I have a plan.
I don't either. And if I do, as soon as I do, it's out the window anyway. That was a great answer, though. And the other thing about that is it's not as risky to them, but then by doing those little things and showing them that it'll work, it ends up kind of that they can kind of take ownership and it makes them look good.
They do. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. Ryan Garrett says, when did you realize that you weren't afraid of making mistakes? And what's your first memory of that?
So I want to say it was when I was a kid. It was about 6, 7 years old. No, I'd say it was about 10 years old. At 6 and 7 years old, I'd already broke. So in my life, I broke my nose 6 times. And
Wait, your nose?
my nose. Yeah, I've had multiple nose
You
fix
can't tell
surgeries.
it.
Oh, because I had great doctors.
Mm.
But for me, I kept trying the same things. I kept trying like to ride that bike where I wasn't supposed to, or do that thing, play that sport that I knew was like 2 years in a row. I missed my baseball season at the very beginning of the season because the first year I took a baseball right in the nose. I was
Yeah.
out for the season. I did it again, took another one. So I was like, okay, now let's change sports to karate because that's safer. Um, and then I got a broken nose from karate. And I started doing more like biking, and I got broken nose from biking. And so for me, that's kind of where I start saying where I wasn't afraid to make mistakes because I just kind of try different things
Mhm.
and then see where they went. But that was kind of the childhood because in my childhood, I know I've talked to you about it before, Lisa. Um, I wasn't who I am now. I don't think any of us are. But
Yeah.
I had mild depression. I had different things because of my dyslexia, my ADHD. That I didn't know how to interact with the world all the time, and I was always trying to please other people.
Yeah.
And so for me, of not being afraid to make mistakes was actually I was 17, and that's when my entire mind frame changed. When my good friend Marcus Wing, shout out, what's up, dude? Um, he he was the first friend that I had that said, "Don't care what anybody thinks," because everyone else kind of did, or you try to fit in the in crowd or the cool
Yeah.
kid, whatever. And he was like, "No, people are people. I'm just me," and he is the perfect example of just being his true self that I had ever met. So
Hmm.
from that day on, and it took some adjustment because I had my habits that I had
Yeah.
to, and my personality had to change a little bit. But now it's like I can't like. There's moments, then there's things that'll still sting me. Most of the time, I'm like,
Mm.
oh, that's a mistake. I don't care. I actually get my wife makes fun of me. I get more frustrated at like breaking a fork than I do of like wasting $1,000 on a stupid idea. Or like it's the little things that still get me. The big
Yeah.
mistakes, like I
That's
learned
so
from it. This
funny.
is what I learned, and then I just kind of keep trying. And as Ryan Garrett knows, he's asking the question. I made some mistakes that got me where I am, and we're about to do some awesome things
Uh,
together.
yeah, and I'm sure we're going to make our mistakes, but hello, it'll be okay. It's funny you said that about riding a bike because one of the first things that I can remember for me was my tricycle. And we had this long porch and it was open on the end. It was probably like 3 feet off the ground. And I remember I just got on it and started pedaling as fast as I could at one end and went off the other end because, hello, in cartoons, that's what happens. And I go
Yeah.
flying off the end. I don't know why I didn't break any bones or anything. But so I would do weird stuff, but I was shy and timid. So I would do stuff like that, but I tried outside of my home. I tried not to attract attention to myself. Really, I was quiet and didn't talk a lot, believe it or not. But then, like in junior high and high school, it's like I was one of those people that fit in every group. I was the band geek. I played on the basketball team. I hung around with the clique. I fit in everywhere and nowhere. They were all my friends, but I never was really embedded in one or another. And I think a lot of that just comes from wanting to do my own thing.
Well, totally, and I think it's just and part of your personality of connecting to other people and being.
Yeah.
I have one more thing I want to add to Ryan. I just thought of actually is for me. I never when I started like my getting jobs in like 17, 18, 19. I think that's where it really deep rooted because I've always had multiple jobs going on, so I never cared if one of them failed. So,
Mm-hmm.
and Gary Vaynerchuk says this: if Gary V, if you've got 10 plates in the air and only two succeed and you only two make it, hey, you still got two that made it.
Yeah.
I've always had so many things going on, even though people may see me doing like one career, one job, they don't see what else I'm playing with and experimenting with. Like
Mm-hmm.
in the last 2 years, I've started and stopped like 5 or 6 different podcasts. One of them I'm restarting again. And so I just kind of start. I do so much of experimenting. I don't really care if I make a mistake because I'll just do the next thing.
Yeah, you try, and that's how you learn. One of the best compliments that I feel like I ever got, I was probably like 23 or 4, not long out of college, and I was working in the controllers area for a big conglomerate. And somebody that knew the president personally told me, he said, that Lisa has a mind of her own. Now, in our world, in that world, that was not a good thing. But he meant it in a good way, and I took it in a good way. She thought it was like, oh, she's like whatever. But I remember being like, yes, except I knew I didn't belong there. Oh, here's Adam. Adam Raymer Brown asked, how do you know when to quit on an idea or quit an idea?
Okay. I will also give a shout out back to Catherine because she said, what's up?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Again, I do the lives as well, so I can't not read the comments.
Yeah.
Adam, so how do you know when you know to quit an idea? So I never realized, for me, it goes to paying attention to what you're doing and kind of all that data you're collecting. And data right now is a word of like, oh, like IT data and data science, data mapping. And yes, data is the new currency. People want to know what's going on. I never saw myself as a data collector, but I always am. I'm always, because of my ADD, because I'm always doing so many things and the way I observe people, my wife says that I kind of annoy her occasionally, or often probably. I think so quickly. And it's not that my brain's faster than anyone. It's that I just see everything happening at once. And so I make decisions quicker.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you identify with as well. It's not that we see things faster or better. We just make decisions differently and at a different speed. So for me, Adam, it's watching. I know really everything I'm doing, even though it doesn't look like I have a strategy because I don't have one on paper. I always do. Yeah. It's just sometimes it's just being built. The airplane's being built after I take off. So people think I don't. But I look at all the data, look at everything that's happening. Is it working? Is it not? And I'm just going to say, and then I'll take a break. Like, what happens if I stop that? If I stop that, would anyone know? Would it affect me financially? Would it affect whatever I'm doing? And if it doesn't, if nobody notices, it doesn't raise my income up or down, and then it's like, do I need to be doing that? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of see of like, oh, let's try, let's pause, let's see. And usually the best answer, which I should have given first, is I usually don't know when to quit. My wife has to tell me. Or my coworker, and I don't mean wife as wife. I mean my partner. She knows me better than anyone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And so she can see me, but then also people I work with. Like I've always had kind of a not sidekick, but partner that we've always worked with. People be like, hey, hang on. You're going crazy, but like, do we need to pause? I'm like, So it's always, for me, it's always good having someone that thinks completely differently, which can be hard.
Yeah.
So for a while, I always had people around me that thought the same way I did. And that doesn't work because we're just going to both go broke or both go crazy.
Yeah.
And so having someone around you that is going to challenge you, like a coach, a friend, whatever, that's really what keeps me to like, oh, hang on, I got to pay attention to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Not just start all these 10 things.
Yeah. And I talk about that in the book and I waited way too long to get a coach. Because I didn't think I needed one. I thought that was like more for people that didn't know how to own a business or didn't know how to, do accounting or whatever. I never really thought about why I would need one. But the thing is, we're so close to what we're doing and thinking that it's really hard to be able to take that step back and look at it. So whether it's a coach or a mastermind or a friend or a partner, somebody, you have to be able to have that somebody that you trust who can actually give you that advice and give it to you in a way that you'll take it. A lot of times it won't work if it's a family member because it gets too personal, but it's great that you and Lindy have that relationship.
Well, I really like what you said about that gives it to you in a way that you'll take it, because Lindy knows that like if I'm going like in a spiral, if I'm going a thing, I won't hear you or see you unless she disrupts me.
Yeah.
She be like, we gotta stop, or you gotta stop, or kind of not yell, but she has to like really rock me to be like, oh, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like I hyper focus. I'm like, so in the situation or whatever, but she knows that about me. And so even if in the moment I'm like, yeah, I'm like, okay, she was getting me to take a step back. I'm like, look.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yes, Ryan, the truth about Lindy, I just do this and she makes it actually work.
You're the puppet. She's pulling the strings, right?
He's over there on the couch.
Let's see what Jonas says. Appreciate both your work with our vets. Thank you so much, combat vets in particular. Love to link up with you on our work with Challenged Athletes Foundation, specifically on Operation Rebound for returning vets. Yeah, we'd like to learn more about it.
Yeah, definitely. And Jonas is an old good friend of mine from the Navy.
Okay.
And so he knows a little bit about what we're doing.
Okay, cool.
Excited to link him up with, he's a Navy guy.
Like my husband, yeah.
Yeah, you know what that's like.
Yep.
So definitely, Jonas, we'll be talking for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. So go ahead. What?
Nope, your show. I'm just a guest.
No, I was just gonna say, what do we want to talk about next?
I was gonna say, why don't we talk about that?
Okay, go ahead. Do it.
So one of the announcements I said I teased that we're gonna do is we're collaborating in a partnership with Lisa Kipps-Brown, Ryan Garrett, Colin Garrett for Colin Garrett Racing and some of the stuff. So this is a NASCAR racer, those that don't know, but he races to promote veteran suicide prevention and fight veteran suicide and promote veteran and military spouse businesses and creating a better life for them and their families. And so I'm excited to be partnering with you guys, especially because we're all crazy, like texting each other at 2 a.m. But we're really excited, Lindy and I, to be working with that. And that's kind of what Jonas is leading into, for those that aren't aware, is us kind of that brand ambassador for this nonprofit you guys have with my wife's giving me notes over there. She's like, good job. See, I'm the puppet. So really excited to talk more about that and what we're up to. Some of the things we can share, we're not going to share too much until people pay attention.
That's right.
Later this week, we got some big things coming. But
we do, y'all. So y'all have to stay tuned. But a little background for those of you who aren't familiar. It'll be 3 years. It's almost 3 years that Colin Garrett, NASCAR driver Colin Garrett, his dad Ryan, and I have been working on this mission. The overall mission is to combat veteran suicide. And we feel like when we combat veteran suicide, it combats suicide in every demographic. And my background in that is my grandfather killed himself when I was 5. My grandmother tried to 3 years later, not military. But so there's the suicide angle then, and there's the military angle with my husband. And I know how difficult it was when he transitioned out. It was really hard on our family. And he wasn't coming out during wartime like so many people are now. But I mean, he had been in combat, but he wasn't coming out in wartime. And it was just extremely difficult. That's all he had done for 26 years.
Yeah.
And I just know that if we had had access to some of the resources that I know of now that are available, like Racing for Heroes and like the Rosie Network, life would have been so much easier for us, or the transition would have been so much smoother. And you're always going to make mistakes, but it wouldn't have had to be so much. I call it heartbreak, and I don't mean that as bad as it sounds, but just, you know what I mean, Matt. I think you know what I mean. It can be a real struggle. So I'm thrilled that you and Lindy are partnering with us, because our whole hearts and minds have been poured into this for so long. And, a lot of times people, because they're so used to everybody throwing a veteran's a cause, a logo on something, and they think they're just doing it for a gimmick. They don't. A lot of people don't realize the sincerity that we have for it, and the huge amounts of resources that we've poured into it for 3 years. So I'm just thrilled that you and Lindy are doing it, or joining up with us. And I feel honored that you are, but I'm also just so thrilled because y'all are both so much fun and so smart.
Well, thank you, first of all. And we are so pumped. And there's a lot. I can talk about veteran stuff all day, but I think you hit on a very important point that my wife will share as we go through this journey. As a military spouse, I was in Okinawa, Japan. She was back here in the States, and so she didn't always have the resources she needed. She didn't always have veterans. Right. We get a lot of attention, even though we don't always know it's there to help us. Military spouses is a big affected community as well that doesn't know the resources there and doesn't know what they can do. And we already have that's the thing. We've been talking about this for like 3-4 weeks now.
Yeah.
Really last week, like on really crazy. And we still have a list of about 100 people that we're just ready to like fire because of military stuff that have businesses and different things. So for us and for me specifically, I really identify with the suicide mission. I've had multiple friends in the service and out of the service. I have my own stories that we'll share about that as we go forward. But finding Colin and you saw me do this to Ryan, and you didn't see me to do this to Colin later that night at dinner in Michigan 2 weeks ago. We got to go up and meet the team, which is a whole cool experience.
Yeah,
in its own right. But I kind of stepped to him, and I was like, "Why are you doing? Like, I needed to know. I'm not going to work for you. I'm going to be a voice of these veterans. I need to know as a vet, like, so it's not just putting a logo on a car or this thing or I support the troops. It's like, no, why are you doing this? And I told Ryan that, and I even told Colin, I was like, I need to understand why this matters to you, and that's why I'm excited because I was happy with both of their answers, and it both meant so much to them, both because of Colin's two brothers that are in, and their whole family lineage of military. It's so deep rooted in their family. It's not a gimmick. It's not a thing to just like, oh yeah, we support the vets. It really means something to you guys and your history with your family and Tom, your husband, and things. For me, like that's what it was. That's for me what clicked. I've been talked to, hey, can you help us out with this or that? But you never know what people's really passion or reason for doing things. And stepping to you guys like, I need to know, because if we're going to do this, you guys are all, I know you're in it for the real reason. And that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, you don't want to get involved in something where people are doing it for selfish reasons. Back almost 2 years ago, when we first brought the Rosie Network into the fold, and we went up, the Rosie Network is out in San Diego, and they train and mentor veteran and military spouse-owned businesses for y'all out there who aren't familiar. So you should go check out the Rosie Network. But when we met with her the first time, she came to DC, and Colin and Sam and Ryan and I went up and met with her, and she was so surprised because both Colin and Sam's the team owner, y'all, and they're the youngest owner-driver duo. They're 21 and 27 or 8. I can't remember how old Sam is now. But anyway, they told her that they were very concerned that they would not be perceived as people who are trying to take advantage of that cause, because they do see it so frequently with people just logos on. And so she was stunned that these two young guys were the ones that said it to her, that was their big concern. And for me to be able to work with people like that and know how genuine they are. And one of Sam's best friend is active duty SEAL. And as you said, both of Colin's older brothers are active duty. So anyway, I just love working with them. And if y'all could just know Colin and Sam and Ryan, when y'all get to meet them, they're just awesome. I feel blessed that you know, they're my friends and we're all big part of this big family.
See, Lisa, you say the word if, but you got to remember, you invited me and Lindy into your kingdom and we talk. So and we do video, we can do interviews. So don't worry, everyone out there. You'll be meeting, and especially in my community, you'll be meeting Sam, Ryan, Colin, what they do, why they're doing it. And when we start announcing some partnerships we're up to, it's going to be awesome. And they really are some great people. And even what was awesome to me was I didn't know NASCAR itself had such a strong military connection where they actually recruit from the military.
Yeah.
I learned that from little Mike, as I call him, one of the mechanics who so those that don't know, if you didn't see my posts, I got to go and this insane experience.
The team first NASCAR race ever and tell them what happens. This is
Yeah.
total example of how Matt disrupts.
Well, we were at dinner with the team the night before. So you guys invited us up. Hey, come meet Colin. If we're going to work together, let's get together in our environment so you can see. Never watched NASCAR. I could tell you Jeff, I just about said Jeff Earnhardt. Jeff Gordon. Well, Colin, don't roast me for that. Ryan, neither. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt. I could tell you their names, but I couldn't tell you anything else about NASCAR.
Yeah.
They go left. And so, like, being able to go up there and this experience was incredible and be part of the VIP crew and get to go on the grid, different things. But what happened was we're at dinner and we're just chatting. It's like, hey, awesome. Come and hang out with us. Be an extra part of the team. And I say part of the team very broadly. I didn't do anything in the car because I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the team, like, I'll watch everything I can. Tell me where to move.
Yeah.
I don't want to disqualify you. So we were very transparent. But it was so cool to I asked I didn't know they used math and all these different things and the way they inspect the cars and the laser systems behind it all and the way they weigh them and check
it's crazy, isn't it?
Tire pressure, the wind, the humidity. Like, I just thought they got in the car and drove.
Yeah. You just drive and turn left, right?
Yeah. And to be there, like I told Colin even that day, I was like, I already know we're going to keep talking. I'm not going to talk to you. I want to talk to these mechanics. So like I stuck around the mechanic crew and those of you that have seen, I even got one of the team shirts.
Yeah.
And they called me the intern. I wasn't an intern. I wasn't doing anything. They were just playing to this. They were just being nice to me, and I just got to watch them.
But that's how they are. They're really. I can't speak for the other teams because I don't know them, but
yeah,
Colin's and Sam's team, they are awesome, awesome people, and I'm sure that Sam wants to win, but he's also a great person, and he's going to pick people with good hearts. Yeah. So I'm not surprised at all of how you were welcomed with open arms. This past weekend we had Hobie Wedler there. Yep. For y'all who don't know him, he's a PhD chemist who happens to have been born blind, and my father was blind. So Hobie and I partnered up on a bunch of stuff, and we promoted his new food seasonings blend brand on the car this past weekend. He had never been to a NASCAR race, never even thought about NASCAR. So we took him to Daytona. The Garretts had him there. He had VIP passes, got to sit in the pit box. We had Colin's name in Braille over the passenger side door. That was so cool. And to see Hobie get to touch the Braille letters and feel of his logo on the side of the car. But to me, I was so touched personally because, as I said, with my father having been blind, I was so touched personally to see how nice and welcoming they were to Hobie, and they just kind of naturally knew how to interact with him. A lot of people don't know how to interact with blind people, and they just kind of grab them and drag them around, and they were totally unlike that. And it was amazing. We have some video that we'll be releasing, but it was really heartwarming. And then while we were there, Ryan happened to meet an 11-year-old boy who was blind, happened to be at the race. So he brought him over and introduced him to Colin and Hobie and got pictures with them. So it was just a really, really cool weekend. So I hope y'all will go check out some of our content, to see some of that stuff.
Well, and that's what's so cool about what you guys are doing and why we're interested. Because you're not doing things like everyone else. You are trying different things, bringing Hobie in, bringing us in, and that's what's really cool about this partnership we have with you guys. Is I don't feel like either of us is going to outweigh the other on what we're getting back. We're helping you, you're helping us because it's part of your cause. And Colin's 1111 Veteran Project, or Vet Project of helping other veterans and promoting veteran-owned businesses. Well, that's one of our dreams. Is creating businesses or nonprofits and things, and not knowing anything how to do that. You guys giving us this opportunity to help with yours and also learn the ways so that we can do it ourselves in the future, which is just amazing.
Yeah. Well, and we really feel like suicide prevention is a holistic approach. If you have access to the education and the health services and, you know, entrepreneurial training, job placement, all those things, if you have access to the things that make life worth living and help you live the American dream,
Yeah.
you and your family are at much lower risk of experiencing suicide in that circle. So that's why we approach it holistically, with trying to touch every facet of life through it.
As you guys say, hashtag access saves lives, right?
Yep.
And I think it really is all about that. It's about how, whether it's for suicide prevention, whether it's for knowing what to do with your career, whether it's anything, having access to the technology, to the people, to the information. I mean, that's, no entrepreneur would be successful in what they do. I know I wouldn't be in what I do in my life if I didn't have access to different people to help guide me, to help correct me when I need correcting. And so I think I love access, the way you guys have taken that, because it can seem really big and broad, but at the same time, it can also be boiled down really fine to like for Hobie, access for him is a different kind of access than it is for me.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, we're going to be helping Hobie with a crowdfunder later for him to have the very first Braille labels on a food seasoning brand. So I'm really, really excited about that. It's going to be so cool.
That'll be way awesome.
Thanks, Lucas. Lucas said a truly important cause. And with my ADD, while you were talking, I thought of something I wanted to say and now I've forgotten it. So you have to start talking again before I'll remember what it was, Matt.
Well, shout out to Lucas. He's actually volunteered. He wants to help with what we're doing. He's aware. I've talked to him a little bit. He's a Coast Guard guy, so I guess he's all right. We'll keep him around. Yeah. So thanks for joining. Thanks for everyone else that's watching right now, especially because I know tonight we pushed to my LinkedIn because you don't have LinkedIn Live yet. We gotta help you disrupt LinkedIn Live.
I know. Well, I applied a couple times, and it was if you don't hear back, don't apply. Well, so I applied 2 or 3 times, and then you told me that you applied every week, and I was like, I'm going to do that, and then I got busy and didn't. So
I applied about probably at least 18 times.
Yeah.
And I learned the cycle. So like I said to Adam's point earlier, I pay attention to the data. I pay attention to what's going on. I realized that they denied me every 7 to 14 days. So that's why I'd set an alert. I'd go check because they don't tell you got denied.
I know. So how did you find out you were denied?
I just go to the website. I just go to LinkedIn. I said, how do I find LinkedIn Live denied? I Google very simply.
Yeah.
And I just kind of navigated my way down and found. And so I was like, okay, apply. It's in the same apply section. It's in that same.
It's in the apply, like don't apply again or whatever.
Yep. Okay. And so I just kept applying. And then for me, what actually broke it was not broke it, but disrupted it and made it happen for me was another disruption when I did 100 Days of Awesome.
Yeah.
And when I did my 100 Days of Awesome last year, which for me was more of a disruption to me. It may have disrupted others, but it disrupted me because I wanted to create a pattern and a habit of putting video out every day. I was already doing a lot, especially compared to most people, but I wanted to just challenge myself. And a friend gave me the challenge, and I put a new video out every single day for 100 days. And a couple didn't work. There were a couple of days I failed and had because of medical or other things, but that's okay. I still reached my 100 days. And but doing that was a disruption, and that I think finally gave LinkedIn like, oh, he's doing so much video.
Yeah,
we got to give him live.
They're like, we can't ignore him. And the important thing with that, Matt, is you challenged yourself. And we too frequently, we want to be comfortable, and we don't want to challenge ourselves because that's a bit scary, you know, and nobody wants to fail. So it's a lot easier to just keep the status quo so that we can feel good about ourselves. But it's really important to constantly challenge ourselves so that we will continue to grow.
It is. And with that, I'm going to share one of my other announcements, which I'm challenging myself. And so everyone can stay tuned. I'm starting 100 Days of Awesome live edition and here soon. And I'll be going live every single day for 100 days. And some of those may be 2 minutes. Some of those may be like this. I'm going to have you on the show. We already talked about that. But it's a thing. Again, I do a lot of video. But I've been involved in some other things the last couple months. Took my focus a little bit. I want to get back into the game and back doing the lives, the interviews, the broadcast. And then I can do video. I can do video every single day. That's easy to me now. Going live every single day takes a little bit of planning. Where am I? Do I have internet? Do I not? If I don't, and one of the best tips he who shall not be named gave me was during 100 Days of Awesome, I got COVID and I got really sick. And he said, reach out to your friends and those who support you and have them cover for you. And that's what I did. I had Adam, Brian Boger, Ryan that we know. I probably forget Ryan's name. Last name Smith.
Yeah.
And so I had them record videos because I knew I wasn't going to be able to put them out. And so that's the kind of planning that's always hard for me, that challenged me.
Yeah.
Same thing for 100 Days of Live or 100 Days of Awesome Live is same thing. I have to actually plan it because live is different. I got to know where I'm going to be, what I'm going to do, and that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about that. Cool. And anyone that's watching that wants to be live with me, Lucas is already on the list. Let me know. We'll do it. And Colin will be one of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to be doing my 100 Days of Disruption.
Yes.
Whatever I decide. But I have to decide, am I going to do it live or whatever? I have to decide all that. And I probably will just do a combination because if I overthink it, I'm one of these people, if I overthink it, it'll never get done. That's how I ended up with this live show. I wanted to have a podcast for like 3 years. And I was like, what do I want it to be about? Blah, blah, blah. You know, just constantly. And then I was like thinking about all the production and the editing and And I also know I don't like repetitive tasks. So after I did the live with you, I'm like, wait a minute. This is going to be my podcast because I'll just have it out in the wild and then it's out there free. I can't worry about it. It's not edited. And, you know, and so I don't have to get bogged down into those details that literally will suck me in and never let me out. So that's how my show came about.
I love it. I love that I was a part of it in the beginning.
Yeah. And that's a lesson, y'all, that when it's something that you want to do, instead of doing it like everybody else does it, figure out the things that work for you and don't work for you and massage those so that you can do what you want to do. Because like I said, I knew that with the details and all those repetitive, I knew I wouldn't follow through. But because I would get too sucked in and it would be not fun for me. Even if I had other people doing the editing and stuff, I just knew that it would not be fun. But this, it's like, hey, I just come on and we could be sitting, you know, on the sofa talking to each other. You know, it's the same thing, just chit-chatting. So it's a lot of fun.
And you push to YouTube too, right?
Yeah. So, YouTube and Facebook. Yeah.
I have a YouTube disruption. Because you're all about disrupting things. When I started going live, I just started pushing to YouTube. I had to make a YouTube. So I had 0 followers because I didn't do YouTube at all. I still don't have that many, especially because I took a break for a bit.
Yeah.
But I started pushing and I got like, why are you pushing YouTube? You don't even have followers there. The first week I started going live, I went live 3 times. What's up, Jonas? I went live 3 times. And after the first week, I had 4 followers on YouTube. And 2 of them reached out to me and had me on their podcasts.
Oh, cool.
So I call it a disruption because you don't know who's watching, who's where. Just started doing it. Now I have 12 followers. I'm getting pretty big, I know.
Yeah.
On YouTube. Exactly. And so
one more and you'll have a baker's dozen.
What's that?
One more and you'll have a baker's dozen.
I know, right? and so I just echoing what you said, just start, even if it doesn't seem like it's working or someone's not, just keep going. People will tell you if it works or not. I pay a lot of attention to what I do. I do everything first and foremost for me. Mm-hmm. If I did it for someone else, I wouldn't do it, first of all.
Yeah.
If I got bored. And second of all, but I do pay attention to everything. So just pay attention to what you're doing. Try it out. It doesn't work. Try something else. And if you don't know how to do that, talk to Lisa or I. We're happy to share what works
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the fun of it, helping other people out. And also, if you're a podcast guest, if you're on other people's shows, that's great exposure because you're stepping into their world. You know, you think about all the marketing you do to try to get attention and try to reach people. Whereas if you just go on somebody else's podcast, you're immediately reaching all of them. And I've been on shows, other people's shows, that literally that day I picked up like a coaching client or this or that, and they would contact me, hey, I just heard you on there and, you know, I want to work with you. So, I mean, it really does work.
Yeah.
With me, because because I was working on the book and I put the show on hold for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months while I was doing that because I was using it as an excuse to not finish the book. So, anyway, I got kind of out of my groove. And so now I'm having to get back into it, get back into the pattern of doing it. But it's just so much fun. And I got so that when I was so used to doing it every week, that if there was a reason I couldn't do it, like I believe it was during the holidays, I didn't do it one week and I couldn't figure out why. I just felt funky. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's because I didn't get my social hour, you know? I didn't get to have fun jabber-jawing with somebody.
Exactly.
Well, I've had you for almost an hour. Is there anything else that you want to share with anybody, or does anybody else have a question you want to ask?
While any questions come in, I will say pay attention. We got some different things I'm doing with you guys. We have different stuff going on in our lives. Those are the only announcements I'm going to give right now. But Jordan Cochran, what's up, man? That was my best Marine Corps officer in the world.
Hey, Jordan.
That just said awesome. Influenced my life completely where I am today. Jordan, we got to talk. Got some news for you. Before I tell everybody else.
Yeah.
So just stay tuned. We got some cool things, cool partnerships. A lot of it all to help vets, mil spouses, different things, disrupting the way people are doing things, helping people try different things and stuff like that. As I always say, I'm going to hold that.
Okay.
Unless you're done and you want me to might close myself out.
Oh, no, I'm good. I'll stay all night if you want to. So,
well, I was just going to say, because I always have to, is whatever you're doing out there, just try it. And if it fails, that's okay. Just keep trying, keep doing something different. There's lots of people that have tried and failed every single day. But most importantly, remember that whatever you're going through, someone else may have gone through that already. When I started sharing my dyslexia online, I was getting messages from Marine Corps generals and like people that people look up to. And they're like, I never knew how to share that. Thank you. You've helped me with mine. Whatever you're going through, one, other people might be going through it too. And you sharing that, if you feel comfortable, can help them through their journey or help yourself. Two, I just forgot it because I have ADD and I looked at the computer. Do whatever you're going through is going to pass. You are supposed to go through what you go through. I've learned that really hardcore this summer. A lot of the things that we've been disrupted a bit. Usually I do the disruption.
mm-hmm.
But so hang in there. It's going to get through it. And that's why I always say be awesome, because it doesn't mean you have to have an awesome day right now. Doesn't mean I'm always motivated or in a good mood, but I know that I can be. And that's why I always end with be awesome and be the reason someone else has an awesome day, because you don't know what someone's going through and you don't know what saying hi in the hallway can do to them.
Yeah. So true. Thank you so much for joining me, Mohawk Matt, and thanks y'all in the audience for watching live. Thank you for watching Disrupt Your Now. If you want to know about my book, go to disruptyournow.com. I've got 50 entrepreneurs in there, ranging from people who are known worldwide in their field to a guy who spent 15 years in prison for armed robbery. So if you can find somebody in there that you identify with, you're even more weird than Matt and I. Anyway, thanks everybody, and stay tuned because we have some fun news coming.
See you guys. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it.
All right. Check you later. Bye.